Hello, my name is Chrissy Gindelsberger, and I am a Walsh University MBA student. This is my summative blog and reflection from class MBA 622B, Organizational Behavior and Communication. Overall, organizational behavior and communication has taught me a lot about myself, my leadership style, and my management style. It has taught me how to be a more effective communicator and how to think about the organization and different behaviors and personalities leaders, employees, and teams use when they work together in order to make a fully functioning teamwork at any place of business. Over the course of the last 7 to 8 weeks, we have went through a series of different learnings, and we had written a series of blogs. I'm going to reflect on some of those topics that we talked about in the blogs and what I learned introspectively about myself as a leader. The first blog we spoke about was our management style. As I read through and learned through this module, there are a lot of management styles. And when you start to learn about this, you realize that no one management style fits each individual person. I went back and I looked at how I manage and lead at work and realized that I use a multitude of management styles. At first, I had said that my management style was a collaborative management style where people and teams really augment their strengths together, and it's contributory and a collaborative environment. I still do manage this way, and I like to be managed in a collaborative environment. However, there are times where I notice that it's not as much of a collaborative management style as a direct management style. And then there are other times when teamwork takes place and it is a collaborative management style. The contingency theory I really learned was one of the best management styles, and that's when you personalize your management style to the individuals. As I look at leading more and more millennials in the workplace, I realize that millennials really seek that personal thought process from their leader. They want a lot of feedback and they want to know how they're doing at each individual step of the way. Contingency theory is really where I learned my management style is the best. This way, I can take each personality that I manage and I can personalize my style to fit their personality in order to make the best results possible. On week 2, we talked about and we looked at the Big 5 personality test. And what are the perks and advantages of knowing what your Big 5 personalities are? I've done personality tests in the past, and you start to realize that through organizational behavior and communication, it's really important to understand what your personality is and how you work with others. Knowing how you work with others and knowing the personalities of your team will help you work more effectively together to create an organizational behavior to move the team forward and the business forward. In reflecting on my Big 5 personality test, my test showed that I was an extrovert. However, I do get anxious at times. I do have anxiety when I realize that there are certain things that I'm coming up on deadlines and I haven't finished them yet. That gives me anxiety. However, I'm an extrovert and a strong leader in my personality. I am both organized and disorganized. Sometimes I'm organized and other times I'm disorganized. I use that within my style at work. There are times when you need to be very, very organized in what you do. Having a background as a physician assistant, and now being a leader in administrative medicine, in my administrative side of the house, I have to be very organized with what I do, my management strategies of my team. When I work as a physician assistant in the emergency department, you tend to be disorganized. And that really is just the environment of the emergency department. At any given time, a multitude of different people can come in with different things that are wrong with them, ranging anywhere from an ankle sprain to a chest pain. So having a little bit of that disorganized, on your toes feel actually helps you when working in an emergency department. In the third module, we really talked about punishment and rewards and what is best in leadership. When I started taking this module and I started listening and reading other classmates' blog posts and really learned through the module and watched the different exercises and read the chapters in the book, at first takeaway, I said I always thought that it was best to lead with rewards. I still feel that that is true. Leading with rewards and giving a carrot more than a stick, I feel always helps motivate people to the best of their ability. However, there are times when you have to let people know and understand that something they did along their workday or something they did within a team is not acceptable. And at those times, I like to look at it not necessarily as punishment, but redirection. There are times when I redirect team members to a different team or a different project if they're not getting along with others, if their personalities aren't matching. It's not necessarily a punishment, more of a redirection. But there are times when that needs to be used rather than just rewards. We talked a lot in this class about nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication is so important with any business and with any leader and employee. Nonverbal communication can be your eye contact that you use. It can be the facial expressions you have, the way you cross your arms or cross your legs. It's really important to understand that your nonverbal communication almost means just as much as your verbal communication, and sometimes even more. As I read through this module and I read through the chapters in the book that spoke about nonverbal communication, I took that back with me to my area of work and my place of work. And over the next couple of weeks, I monitored people and their nonverbal communication in meetings. It is definitely really important to understand how your nonverbal communication affects others. I saw some people crossing their arms, rolling their eyes when another team member was talking. That's not only disrespectful, but it doesn't help move the team or the project forward. I talked a lot within my team about nonverbal communication and how we can communicate better with one another using our verbal cues, our facial expressions, our head nods. I really took a lot from that class and that module, learning about that nonverbal communication and understanding the importance of it, and was able to shift that into my practice at work and teach my team about nonverbal communication as well. Intercultural communication. We talked somewhat about some intercultural communication, and we wrote a blog post on it. I found it very interesting to read some of the other classmates' blog posts and learn from them how they've dealt with intercultural communication in the past. I haven't dealt as much with intercultural communication within my area of administrative work now. I used to when I was in the emergency department, and I had many Spanish-speaking individuals come into the emergency department. It was very difficult at that time to be able to communicate properly with them when I myself didn't know Spanish. However, I realized that intercultural communication, after reading through the chapters, is much more than just communicating appropriately with people. Intercultural communication has a big presence on diversity and inclusion. Nowadays, diversity and inclusion is a big part of businesses, managers, and HR even looks at diversity and inclusion, how many leaders are from a diverse background. And are we including gender differences, female versus male? As I read through some of the additional supplemental readings, I realized that there still is way less females in leadership roles today. Top CEOs, less than 10% are females in accordance to males. We do still have a diversity and inclusion problem within our United States businesses. More and more businesses continue to watch diversity and inclusion and how they can increase their diversity representation on their leadership councils. My business alone at USACS has recently developed a diversity and inclusion council over the last year and a half. We've made great strides to make sure that we are a #1 workplace for women. we're diverse and we're culturally accepting towards other members of the leadership team. It takes a lot of practice and it takes a lot of time and devotion to really understand the true depth of diversity and inclusion and how you can make your business better. Group work. We talked a lot about group work. This was really very much on my mind throughout this class. Being an MBA student that has a full-time job, it is often very difficult to complete group work assignments. Many individuals in which you're paired with have differing opinions and also differing time constraints. Often I would find that I would do my work either sooner or later than somebody else on the team, and that would give somebody else more work or less work to do depending on when you got your group work done. I think the biggest takeaway from this class and talking about group work and how you work together effectively as a team really is within my executive leadership team at work currently. As an executive leadership team, before I took this class, our meetings were very scattered. We had no direction, there was no agenda, nobody kept any minutes. After reading and learning about group work and listening to some of the other people talk within our blog post and in our discussion forums, I took that back to my place of employment and to my executive leadership team and actually suggested that we implement not only an agenda, but we implement minutes that we take on a regular basis and review those at the beginning of each meeting. We have an executive leadership team meeting every Monday from 1 to 4 p.m. During those executive leadership team meetings, on the agenda, we also took it even one step further and started talking about when we have an agenda item we're putting out there to people, we should discuss and talk about what does that agenda item mean? What are we trying to get from that? Is this a informed topic, or do we have a question that we need people to answer? That becomes really important. And that's really helped grow. It's not only helped me grow as a leader, but it's helped my entire team. The last topic that I wanted to touch on that I learned a lot within this class is conflict management. It's really difficult for some people to deal with conflict management. I've learned that navigating conflict management often means navigating differing personalities. And sometimes it's best to pause, take a pause, think about the conflict, think about each person and each person that's involved in the conflict and really reflect and see how can we best resolve that conflict. Oftentimes sitting down with that person or sitting down with the two people who are within the conflict, hearing both sides and coming up with a solution together is the best way to go forward with the conflict. One thing that I have learned within our module, within reading our coursework and our book and the supplemental readings, is that dealing with conflict management head on and right away, rather than letting it fester over time, is really the best way to deal with it. It'll give the best outcome to both parties. Everybody will learn effectively from it and hopefully can move forward. Overall, the organizational behavior and communication class has been a really well-run class for me. It's opened my eyes to a lot of different behaviors and communication areas in which I work with every day. It's taught me things that I've been able to take back to work immediately and be able to make a real difference within my teams. I think this has been a great class, and I loved collaborating with all of my classmates and Professor Warner. Thank you.